Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. So with me today NASUHA, your host for today. So today we are gonna continue our episode of podcast Talkie and today we are gonna discuss a very important topic which is not only experienced by the teenagers but also the adults. And the topic is peer pressure. So for today we are going to invite a very two special guests that is very well known in this field and has a lot of knowledge. So first, in my left, I will invite Dr. Anis.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Anis. By the way, thank you Nasuha for inviting me today. I always watch your videos because it's just interesting.
And on my right side, we have Counselor Ayuni.
Hi everyone. My name is FASIHAH AYUNI. You can call me Counselor AYUNI. It's nice to be here and thank you Nasuha for inviting me today.
Yes, okay. So I would like to thank both of you two for being here. So before we go deep into this topic, I would like to ask both of you about what exactly is peer pressure.
So, from my perspective, peer pressure means being influenced by people in your age group to behave, think, or act in a certain way. It can be both positive and negative. For example, positive peer pressure might encourage someone to study because their friends are motivated, while negative peer pressure could push someone into unhealthy or risky choices just to feel accepted.
Exactly. From a psychology perspective, peer pressure matters because it shapes the decision making and even identity. Teenagers, in particular, are still developing their sense of self, so they are more vulnerable to outside influence. But adults aren't free from it either. Whether in a workplace or social group or even online, people still feel that pressure to fit in.
And that's why it's so important to understand it. If we can recognize how peer pressure works, we can make more conscious choices instead of just following along.
Yeah, I think that's just from us. Thank you.
Topic that we are gonna discover about is the type of peer pressure. So from what I do or from my research on the internet, the first is direct peer pressure, which happen when someone is openly told to do something. For example, friend might say smoke this or skip class with us. This form is clear and verbal and is often places immediate pressure on the individual to agree. For me, when a person is put in a tight situation, they would feel very pressure and have no choice but to agree. But that is only from what I researched. I would like to know about Dr. Anis' opinion about this type.
Based on what Nasuha just said right now, I think it's a direct peer pressure. Okay, direct peer pressure is the most recognizable form, which is most of the teenagers these days find it difficult just to say no because the request is direct and usually linked to fear of rejection. For example, let's just say is a situation where your friends say that don't be boring, just drink with us, or in other situation your classmates say that copy my answer, no one will know. That is some of the examples for direct peer pressure. Now let's hear what Ayunis talks about indirect peer pressure.
Thank you, Anis. For me, indirect peer pressure occurs when someone feels compelled to act a certain way simply by observing others. For instance, most if most of your classmates are wearing branded shoes or using the latest gadgets, for example, for now, iPhone 17 is out, so everyone using it. You may feel pressure to do the same, even if no one directly tells you to. The silence pressure can influence behaviors just as strongly as spoken words.
Okay, so what I understand from what you both just shared is that peer pressure can exist in both invisible and visible form. It can be indirect and directly. And another important type is also positive peer pressure, which is not always viewed negatively and can also give a good impact on the person. So, Dr. Anis,
Yes.
can you give me your thought about this?
Yes. Okay. So positive peer pressure is a situation where your friends or peer influence you to make better choices. For example, joining a study group because your classmate encourage you, or maybe you're being motivated to join sports because your peers are involved. For example, when I was in a high school, I had a friend who are actively join actively in academic and sport, so I would do the same as her because she is just perfect. This type of influence promotes growth and healthy habits for me.
I guess this is the kind of peer pressure schools and families should try to encourage when young people push each other towards success, discipline, and good habits. The outcome is very different compared to negative influences.
From what I know, of course, peer pressure does not appear out of nowhere. It is usually driven by several causes that influence young people's choice. So I would like to ask Dr. Anis on how or why it influenced young people's choice or how peer pressure happened.
So for me, I think one of the biggest causes is the desire to fit in. So this explains that most teenagers want to feel accepted by their friends or peer group. Recently, I have received a report from my client that shared her experience that same with this situation. So we all know that I'm sorry. So I know that she is a very good person. She never skip her class, never miss her homework, but one day she decided to skip her class. She knows that it was wrong, but she do it anyway because of what? Because the desire to fit in. This need for belonging can be so strong that they agree to behavior they would normally avoid just to feel included.
Exactly, Dr. Arnis, and closely related to the fear of rejection. From my experience of being a counselor at school, from what I know, many young people worry that if they say no, they will be left out, teased, or even bullied. This fear makes them more vulnerable to giving in, even when they know it's the wrong decision. At last, they're giving in, just to not be left by their friends.
Thank you for sharing about your thoughts. So, from what I can understand, is that it's not just about wanting to belong, but also avoiding the pain of being excluded. The people that are experiencing or in the situation of peer pressure, usually they wanted to fit in the group, they wanted to be excluded. So, they are willing to change their image, they are willing to do other things that they don't usually do just to fit in the group and not be excluded.
Yeah, that's lead to low self-confidence, which is you are not confident to do anything, which is mean that when individuals don't fully trust their own judgment, they are more likely to rely on others to decide what is right. This lack of confidence make it harder for them to stand firm where pressure.
And today, we cannot ignore social media influence. Online platforms create an environment where young people constantly compare themselves to others. Seeing influencers or peers showing off certain lifestyles, trends, or behaviors can entirely pressure them to copy, just to feel they belong to them in group. I mean, they belong in the same group of them, but that is not the truth because everyone has their own life, right? And you absolutely cannot copy and paste others' life.
From what I can conclude is that the main cause of peer pressure include desire to fit in, the fear of rejection, low self-confidence, and the influence of social media. These factors combine to create a strong force that affects how young people think and act. So now we are talking about the negative effects faced by young people today. It's a big one. Things like risky behavior, stress, and even losing personal identity. But before I hear or we go into deeper on the negative effect, first we will play the video. Hey Anis, come sit here. You wanna try together with me?
Huh? Glue? You mean sniff it?
Yeah, just once. You will feel good. Everyone's doing it now.
Are you serious? Anis, don't listen to her. That stuff is dangerous.
Oh, come on. Ayuni, you're such a boring person. It's just for fun. Anis can decide, right?
I don't know. I never done this before.
Exactly, you shouldn't start now. It can ruin your brain, your hair, and your future.
Don't be a baby. Just one sniff won't hurt.
No, I don't want to do it. I want to make the right choice.
That's the right decision, Anis. Let's just leave the NASUHA here.
Okay, so from that video, it is actually one of the example of negative peer pressure. So, Dr. Anis, maybe you can kick us off. What kind of risky behavior do you usually see among youth nowadays?
Okay, so one of the biggest issues is risky behaviors. For example, like smoking, alcohol use, and even truancy. Like I just said earlier, skipping schools or classes. So many people think these are just bad habits, but actually they are coping mechanism. So, a teenager might pick up smoking because of peer pressure or drink alcohol to escape stress. But in reality, they are harming both their brain and body. Okay, let's just say when you're smoking, it's not just giving an effect to your body, but also it could harm others. For example, like pregnancy women or maybe babies, they are not accepting the same thing as yours. You just say that you just do that because it was bad on you. No, you might think that it was bad on you, only you, but actually it could be bad for other people too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Anis. And I like to add something that sometimes when I meet the students in my school, at counseling, skipping school, for example, is really just about being lazy. Sometimes they're overwhelmed, anxious about exam, or struggling with self-confidence. So the behavior is just the surface. The real issue is deeper.
That is really interesting. And speaking of deeper issue, stress and anxiety seem to be everywhere these days. Dr. Ani, since you have more knowledge on this field, I would like to ask you about why you think people are feeling anxiety and stress strongly.
That's a very nice question, Nasuha. Thank you for asking that. Well, let's just say that stress and anxiety is not the same thing, and both of them always exist. But with social media, comparison is constant. Okay. Imagine scrolling through and thinking everyone else is happier, prettier, and more successful. That really lowers self esteem. I remember when I was in a high school, I always compare myself with others. I mean, I feel like I always live behind them. I think that why can I just be like them? Why can I do this, do that? Which is that really pisses me. So psychologically, when someone keeps telling themselves that I am not good enough, it triggers anxiety and sometimes it could be worse and leads to depression.
I totally agree with Dr. Anis. Also in counseling, I remind my clients that it's okay to feel stressed because it's nature to feel stressed. You can always be happy. You can always be happy. Be recognized by the world. But they need to practice self compassion. Like it's fine to make mistakes from time to time. It doesn't mean you are a failure. Without that mindset, young people feel trapped and start questioning their worth. And that's how, like Dr. Ani said, it might get worse and they might get into depression.
Yeah, that really connects to the third point, losing personal identity. Ayuni, could you share more on that?
Yeah. Sure, Nasuha. Losing personal identity basically means you don't really know who you are anymore, what you want, what you value, or who and sorry, again. Sure, Nasoha. Losing personal identity basically means you don't really know who you are anymore, what you want, or what you value. A lot of young people follow trends or peers just to fit in. For example, someone who never liked smoking, or nowadays, vaping is more famous around teenagers, right? They might start at an early age, maybe around 11 years old, just to belong to a group. But when that keeps happening, they drift away from their true self.
Yeah, and I would like to add more, but in a psychological perspective, I think that's dangerous because identity is linked to stability. Without a strong sense of self, people become more vulnerable to risky behaviors and external pressure, like Ayuni just said just now. It's like they are always searching for approval instead of living authentically. I mean, like the situation that I gave earlier is about a student who are skipping schools. Why? Because she just wants to fit in her groups and feel like acceptable so that she doesn't feel left out. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's powerful. So if we connect the dots, risky behaviors, stress, and identity loss, they are all related. One leads to another, which means the solution also needs awareness, support, and sometimes professional help.
Absolutely, Nasuha. Talking to a counselor or a psychologist doesn't mean you weak. It means you care about yourself. Sometimes you need advice from professional person such as me or Dr. Anis.
Me?
Because you can just listen to your peers or siblings and parents because sometimes their advice is more not very professional from us.
Yes, and small steps like journaling, setting boundaries, or just being honest with yourself can help a lot. I remember when I was a kid, I used to make a daily diary, and I would express all of my expression here, there, and I would share everything on my diary. So that helps me a lot to cope with that. Um,
I love that. Okay, final thought before we wrap up.
Mm, I think not only for teenagers but also for adults too. um you need to take care both of your illness and no, I'm sorry, mental health as much as your physical health. Both matter the most in this world. You can You can borrow it from others if you lose both of them.
And remember, identity is not about pleasing others, it's about knowing and accepting yourself.
Right. And if I may add my own perspective as a moderator, but also as someone who's seen this among my friends, my advice is don't rush. Don't rush to please others. Take time to understand what you want in life. Like it's okay to be different and it's okay to like and have a different personality than others. It's okay to say no when something doesn't feel right. You doesn't always need to follow what other people thinks or the stereotype now. That's how you protect both your mental health and your identity. So, to wrap up, risky behavior, stress, and losing identity are all connected. Breaking the cycle needs awareness, self care, and sometimes professional support like both of you guys.
That's such an important reminder, Nasuha. Thank you.
Yes, I love that. Staying true to yourself is the key.
Enemy double kill. Our inhibitor turret is under attack. Our turret has been destroyed. Shut down.
Yes, about there you are. We're going to start our study group for a big math anthem. Are you serious?
I don't know, guys. Mr. Nimsters are impossible. I think I will fail. I'm just gonna go home anyway.
Mom, it's not that bad. I didn't get algebra last week, but I need to explain it in like 2 minutes. It was way easier.
Exactly, and you actually good at geometry parts, Nasuha. Remember when you helped me with the triangles last month, you explained it perfectly.
Well, yeah, I guess triangles are fine.
See, if you help us with geometry, we can help you with algebra. We're a team, we can do better if we're together.
Yeah, I promise we'll take a break in an hour. My trick from the vending machine.
Oh, Kit Kat?
Yes, a Kit Kat it is, but only after we conquer our quadratic equations.
So what do you say? Just give it 1 hour. If you hate it, you can leave, no pressure.
Okay, fine. 1 hour. But you are explaining the factoring thing again.
Deal. You will regret this, I promise.
And you owe me a Kit Kat. We can see that the video tell about the positive effect of peer pressure. So first we will look at motivation. I would like to hear Dr. Ani's thought about this.
Okay, Nasuha. So, motivation is really powerful. When a young when a young person sets a clear goal, say improving their exam results, learning a new skills, or even training for a sport, they activate a sense of direction in their mind. Achieving small milestones give them a dopamine boost, which creates a reward cycle. They feel good, and that feeling pushes them to keep going.
Yes, I love that point. In counseling, I often tell my student that motivation doesn't always have to be huge. Even small steps count. Like finishing a chapter of textbook or practicing a presentation. When they succeed in these smaller things, they realize, hey, I can actually do this. And that belief is what keeps them moving. And now all my students becoming a successful person because they know their own value now.
That is such an important reminder. Sometimes we think success is only about the big picture, but actually it's the little win that builds us up. Sometimes people just overlook that thing.
Exactly. And research show that when youth are motivated, they also develop stronger resilience. Even if they fail once, they learn to bounce back quicker because they have trained their mindset around goals. For example, when I used to be in a high schools, I feel in my I feel for my math subject, but I didn't give up and I took that effect for my inspiration to study way more harder for my SPM, and I managed to get flying colors results on my math exams. Yeah.
That is that is very inspiring. Now, motivation often grows even stronger when we are not alone, right?
Yeah.
Which brings us teamwork and discipline. Ayuni, what do you usually see in young people who work in teams as someone that work in a school?
Exactly as well. Sometimes research shows that when youth are motivated, they also develop stronger resilience. Even if they fail once, they learn to bounce back quicker because they've trained their mindset around goals.
Yes, teamwork also teach emotional disciplines. You can't just get angry at your teammate when something gets wrong. When, let's say that when you participate in the sport and you didn't get to win, you can't just be mad at your team because you lose. But you need to take that as an inspirational or motivator for you to do better in the future. You have to learn to be patient, communication, and showing empathy toward others. These soft skills are as valuable as academic knowledge. Yeah.
Um, that's right. Anis. Also, teamwork is such a great teacher. For example, when students join a sports team or a debate club, they quickly learn that they can just think about themselves. They have to respect schedules, show up on time, and contribute fairly. That naturally builds discipline, and this also leads to leadership for their future.
I completely agree. Personally, I think teamwork also make you feel less isolated. When you work with others, you realize you are part of something bigger. That sense of belonging itself is motivating.
Right? And physiologically, physico- physiologically, right? And physical, kenapa sebut P? Sebab tu macam mana? Right? And psychologically, belonging is a basic human needs. When youth feel they belong and they tend to perform better, stay healthier mentally, and they will trust themselves more.
Peer pressure can feel overwhelming at times, especially when it comes from people close to us. But the truth is, it is not impossible to handle. There are practical steps that can help us make better choices and protect ourselves. Dr. Anis, maybe you can share where we should start.
I think the first step is knowing your values. When you're clear about what you believe in and what matters most to you, it's much harder for you it's much harder for other people to influence you in the wrong direction. For example, if honesty is one of your values, then you will find it easier to say no when someone suggests cheating on an exam. Your values work like a guide. They keep you on a track, but even when others try to push you away from what feels right.
That's right, Dr. Anis. But sometimes, even when people know their values, they struggle to stand firm. This is why building self-confidence is so important. In counseling, I often encourage young people to acknowledge small success. When they start believing in themselves, they depend less on what others think. So this might lead them to be less overthinking, and becoming a confidence person. A confident person is much less likely to follow the crowd without thinking.
So value gives direction and confidence gives the strength to hold on to those values. But what about situation where pressure is direct? When someone is really insisting?
That is where you're learning to say no. Because no become useful and it doesn't have to sound rude. A short but firm no thanks can be enough. What matters is the way you say it, clear and steady without hesitation. For example, no, thank you, or no, thank you. That two sentence is comes in a different meaning, and if you practice saying no in different situations, it becomes much easier to respond calmly when real pressure comes.
Yes, and another factor is your choice of friends. If your friends respect you and your decisions, you won't feel pressure all the time. But if they keep pushing you into things that make you uncomfortable, then you need to ask yourself whether they are the right friends to have, or maybe a bad friends that you need to avoid. And good friends accept your boundaries. However, bad friends always forget you.
That makes sense. Still, for many people, it's not easy to step away from certain friendship. What should they do if they feel stuck?
In that case, it's really important to seek help from trusted adults or counselors or maybe psychologists. Talking to someone like parent, teacher, or professional can give you the support and advice you need. It reminds you that you're not facing this challenge alone, and there are people who can guide you through it.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Ayuni. Asking for help doesn't mean that you're weak. It shows that maturity because you are taking steps to protect yourself. Everyone needs support sometimes, even me and myself. I need support from my family, friends, and I couldn't say that I don't need anyone in my life because I do need someone. And it's always better to get help early rather than let your problem grow.
So, to wrap this up, handling peer pressure means knowing your values, building your confidence, learning how to say no, surrounding yourself with supportive friends that will always influence you in a good way, and
Exactly.
also
Three.
reaching out for help when you need it.
Exactly, NASUHA. When you prepare yourself with these skills, peer pressure doesn't have as much power over you.
Yes, and the more you practice them, the easier it becomes to handle.
Peer pressure can feel overwhelming at times, especially when it comes from people close to us. But the truth is, it is not impossible to handle. There are practical steps that can help us make better choices and protect ourselves. Dr. Anis, maybe you can share where we should start.
I think the first step is knowing your values. When you're clear about what you believe in and what matters most to you, it's much harder for other people to influence you in the wrong direction. For example, if honesty is one of your values, then you will find it easier to say no when someone suggests cheating on an exam. Your values work like a guide. They keep you on a track, but even when others try to push you away from what feels right.
That's right, Dr. Anis. But sometimes, even when people know your values, they struggle to stand firm. This is why building self-confidence is so important. In counseling, I often encourage young people to acknowledge small success. When they start believing in themselves, they depend less on what others think. So this might lead them to be less overthinking, and becoming a confidence person. A confident person is much less likely to follow the crowd without thinking.
So value gives direction and confidence, gives the strength to hold on to those values. But what about situation where pressure is direct? When someone is really insisting?
That is where you're learning to say no. Because no become useful and it doesn't have to sound rude. A short but firm no thanks can be enough. What matter is the way you say it, clear and steady without hesitation. For example, no, thank you, or no, thank you. That two sentence is comes in a different meaning. And if you practice saying no in different situations, it becomes much easier to respond calmly when real pressure comes.
Yes, and another factor is your choice of friends. If your friends respect you and your decisions, you won't feel pressure all the time. But if they keep pushing you into things that make you uncomfortable, then you need to ask yourself whether they are the right friends to have, or maybe a bad friends that you need to avoid. And good friends accept your boundaries. However, bad friends always forget you.
That makes sense. Still, for many people, it's not easy to step away from certain friendship. What should they do if they feel stuck?
In that case, it's really important to seek help from trusted adults or counselors or maybe psychologists. Talking to someone like parent, teacher, or professional can give you the support and advice you need. It reminds you that you're not facing this challenge alone, and there are people who can guide you through it.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Ayuni. Asking for help doesn't mean that you're weak. It shows that maturity because you are taking steps to protect yourself. Everyone needs support sometimes, even me and myself. I need support from my family, friends, and I couldn't say that I don't need anyone in my life because I do need someone. And it's always better to get help early rather than let your problem grow.
So, to wrap this up, handling peer pressure means knowing your values, building your confidence, learning how to say no, surrounding yourself with supportive friends that will always influence you in a good way, and
Exactly.
also
Three.
reaching out for help when you need it.
Exactly, Nasuha. When you prepare yourself with these skills, peer pressure doesn't have as much power over you.
Yes, and the more you practice them, the easier it becomes to handle.
So next, let us dive to the most important part now. We will focus on the role of school, parents, and media because all three play such a huge part in shaping youth. So can I hear your opinion, Dr. Anis, on
Yes.
this thing?
Okay. Let's say that schools. Sorry. Sekali lagi boleh tak? Sorry. Ya Allah. Schools are more than just academic institution. Oh. Yeah, institution.
So next, let us dive to the most.
Betul tak again lah?
Uh, so next, let us dive to the most important part now. We will focus on the role of school, parents, and media because all three play such a huge part in shaping youth. I would like to hear Dr. Anis' opinion
Yes.
on the role.
Okay, schools are more than just academic institution. They are social and emotional learning spaces too. Programs like counseling service, like who we met here is AYUNI, and anti-bullying campaigns are essential. Like we see in the schools, we always make a campaign like anti-bullying, so that would give students about the benefit from the campaign. And when students feel safe and supported, they can focus better on learning and developing themselves. This helps them to make better in their education.
Yes, Dr. Anis, and I'd like to add that for all schools, maybe they can normalize seeking help for students. If students know that talking to a counselor is not a punishment, because some counselor always embarrassing their student by storytelling to others teacher about students problems, so students fear to share their thoughts to counselors. um And but a form of support, they'd be more willing to open up if a counselor didn't embarrass them. Um, Anti-bullying programs also teach empathy, respect, and how to stand out against harmful behavior.
That is such an important point. Now let us move to parents. Ayuni, in your experience dealing with parents, what is the most effective role parents can play?
For me, it always comes back to open communication. Even in relationship, to open communication is the key. Parents need to create an environment where children feel safe to share their worries without fear of judgments, because sometimes parents don't even like to hear their children's problems, and and that makes their children feels lonely and feels like they have no one to what to share their thoughts. Simple things like asking how was your day and really listening can make a huge difference in their child.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. From a psychology perspective, when children feel heard at home, they develop higher self-esteem and resilience. It reduces the chance of them seeking unhealthy coping mechanism outside.
Saya punya part. Boleh kan? I couldn't agree more. Sometimes parents think they need to give solutions, but actually just being present and listening already gives comfort.
Yes, that's true, Nasuha. Children don't always need answers. They just need to feel understood.
Now, the last one, which is media. Dr. Anis, media can be both positive and negative, right?
Yes, media has tremendous influence. On the positive side, it can promote healthy habits like campaign, encourage exercise, mental health awareness, or kindness challenges. But the downside is unrealistic beauty standards like toxic comparison and pressure to live a perfect life online.
You see the same, but like this, some youth start doubting themselves because they compare with influencers who only show highlights, not real struggles. But if media is used wisely, following accounts that spread positivity, it can actually boost confidence and learning.
That is so true. From my own perspective, I would say media is a tool. It depends on how we use it. My advice is choose wisely what you consume. Follow content that inspires you, not content that makes you feel less.
Yes, I love that. Media can shape expectation, but we can choose what to allow into our minds.
Exactly. Schools, parents, and media all work together. When they align, young people thrive.
Well said. So to wrap up, schools can provide support system, parents can create safe communication, and media can either build or break confidence depending on how it is used. So we have now come to the conclusion of our discussion on peer pressure. Throughout this podcast, we explored in many sides. We look at the different types of direct pressure. When someone openly tells you what to do, indirect pressure. When you feel the need to follow just by observing others, the positive pressure. When friends encourage healthier choices.
We also examine the causes, including the strong desire to fit in, the fear of being rejected, low self-confidence, and the constant influence of social media. These factors often work together, creating situations where young people feel like they have no choice but to follow the crowd.
And we cannot forget the effects. While peer pressure can sometimes motivate positive habits, it can also lead to risky behaviors. Emotional struggles such as stress and low self-esteem, and even loss of personal identity. These negative consequences remind us that giving in to the wrong kind of pressure can come at a high cost.
What we want our listeners to take away is this. Peer pressure is something everyone experiences, but it does not have to control you. Having awareness, building self-confidence, and choosing the right circle of friends can make a big difference.
Yes, my advice, please, and please surround yourself with people who respect your choices. I mean, true friends
will never force you to compromise your belief. And and don't be afraid to stand alone if it means staying true to yourself. Being different is not a weakness, it's a strength.
So let us end with this reminder. It's okay to be different. Be true to yourself. Thank you for joining us in this discussion. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and comment down below.
Bye. Thank you for having us.